What's good, YouTube? It's Nas and we back with another video. Roll to 1,000 subscribers, of course. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Ace Bailey because I've made videos talking about what's next for Cooper Flagg, what's next for Dylan Harper, what's next for VJ Edgecombe, what's next for Kon Knueppel. But I have yet to make a what's next for Ace Bailey, the number 5 overall pick that Utah is expecting a big season out of, because if you don't know, Ace Bailey was drafted number 5, and in this season Darren Peterson was drafted number 2. So now I wonder, where does Ace Bailey fit in on this Utah Jazz lineup? And the answer could be simple, but it can also be complicated either, because the person that's basically in his spot is an all-star in Lauri Markkanen. And if you want me to be honest with you, if Ace Bailey does flash enough potential this season, you have to ask yourself the question: would you be willing to give up on Lauri Markkanen for the right assets and for the right moves to insert Ace Bailey in there? But that is a question that is going to come at a later time, because it seemed like Ace Bailey, with every rep that he was given during that garbage season last season, he improved from the beginning to the season, where he seemed to be in foul trouble a lot when he used to catch rhythm, to the end of the season where they had to start sitting him out of fourth quarters because he was too good. We have to talk about that, because when we look at Utah, right, they're coming off the season where they were the worst, or where there was the worst team in the NBA, and you can't take that lightly either, because the other worst team in the NBA on the Eastern Conference was the Washington Wizards. And we're expecting a big jump out of the Wizards, because obviously a healthy Anthony Davis and a healthy Trae Young paired alongside the number 1 pick. This Utah Jazz team, I expect a high lift too. They could possibly be in the playoffs this season, with obviously the trade for Jaren Jackson Jr., a healthy Lauri Markkanen. You lost Walker Kessler, but you still have some value in Jusuf Nurkic, who started getting triple doubles out of nowhere last season. So obviously you see Keyonte George develop in second overall pick Darren Peterson. But I feel like the most forgotten part of this young core would possibly, or will be, Ace Bailey, because the positions that he plays is the shooting guard and the small forward position. Last season we saw a lot of him at the shooting guard position, and during summer league, his games where it looked like he shouldn't be out there, he's better than everybody, he was playing the number 2 and Darren Peterson was playing the number 1. So I do wonder how this will work for Utah, and how will you squeeze in Ace Bailey enough reps to where obviously it looks like he's working out with Kevin Durant. And I do think Ace Bailey has future all-star potential, but I don't want Utah Jazz at the same time to hinder his growth while also trying to focus on making the playoffs this season, if that makes sense. I do think there is a way that you can bring Ace Bailey along without obviously hindering his growth. Obviously, I would start the number 2 pick Darren Peterson at his natural position at the 2 guard next to Keyonte George, but at some point I would raise the question: when is it time for my 6'10" or 6'9" wing / guard to make that jump? Because Ace Bailey, mid-range, pure. His shot difficulty, that's what he was known coming out of college. Sometimes he would take dumb IQ shots, but they would go in because he's 6'10", he can shoot over you. Last season we saw a lot of that. His athleticism was obviously mind-boggling to some Utah Jazz fans. His defense was something that was improved from his college season, which I thought it would be, because he has all the tools to actually play great defense in this NBA with his length and size. So I just wonder, what would next season actually look like? How does he make an impact on this Utah Jazz team that is fishing for more? The 19-year-old turning 20 literally next week is looking to make a big sophomore season. I expect him to, but I don't expect him to be on the bench for long, because I will call it out when it's time, if they decide to do this 6-man route, which I do think most likely will happen to Ace Bailey. But Ace Bailey last season averaged basically 14 points, 4 rebounds and 2 assists, shooting 44% from the field and 34.5% from 3, and only 27.5 minutes per game. So you have to look at that, and you look at what he did in his actual minutes, because he was a starter, but sometimes he was in and out of the lineup, even though he played 72 games this season. So you can't ignore Ace Bailey's productivity in his minutes and with the games he played, because at the same time, in those games, like I said earlier, the Utah Jazz was tanking, so you can't ignore that either if you're Ace Bailey. And I do wonder with this Utah Jazz team, because they are a really talented team. And like I said in multiple videos talking about the Jazz after the trade deadline, or even after the draft even, I expect the Utah Jazz to be a play-in or playoff team. I expect a big season for Utah because all that tanking shit is out of the window. Remember, you can't have a top 5 pick in back-to-back seasons anymore. So I do expect the Utah to go all in. And I do think Jaren Jackson Jr. will anchor this Utah Jazz defense, because the one thing when watching Utah over the last couple seasons you would notice is that the defense was abysmal. Like, when they were in games, which sometimes they were, it was high scoring games. It was 140, 140s, 130s, and that's what you would not want to see if you're a basketball team. Yes, it's exciting for the fan or the viewer watching, but obviously as players, you have to have some sense of pride. We just let 145 get put up on our heads and we lost. Like, how are we going to do this? But this Utah Jazz team right now consists of a lot of talent, in my opinion. They have Lauri Markkanen, obviously. You have Darren Peterson, obviously Ace Bailey, Keyonte George, Jaren Jackson Jr., Kyle Filipowski, Jusuf Nurkic, Cody Williams, who has to develop into some type of player because Summer League was horrible, I'm not going to lie. Isaiah Collier looked like obviously a promising guard, but he is playing behind Keyonte George. I do think Collier could be another piece which you probably ship off at some point, because I do think Collier one day will be a starting level type of point guard. But that's just me. Bryce Sensabaugh, Jackson Hayes, who you just got to be your backup center most likely from the Los Angeles Lakers, Mo Bamba, third string center, Svi Makashev, I don't know how to say his name, but Svi, you should know who I'm talking about if you're a Utah Jazz fan. Josh Okogie, Elijah Harkless, John Konchar, solid guys and solid role players actually. So you're banking on the development of your young guys, and that's why when I look at Ace Bailey, I do see why people was calling him and Cooper Flagg had the most potential. Their ceiling was through the roof. But when you look at their floor games, I do think Ace Bailey still does have to develop out of the stupid moves sometimes. I mean, not the stupid moves, the stupid shots sometimes. He does have to get a strict and stronger ball handle if he does want to play that shooting guard position. In a long haul, I would say. I do think he will slide back down to the small forward position, but I do think Ace Bailey does have the potential to run some shooting guard in his lifetime. I do think this season he will be played at the shooting guard sometimes, because I do foresee a lineup, or not even shooting guard sometimes. I do foresee a lineup of Keyonte George, Darren Peterson, Ace Bailey, Lauri Markkanen, and Jaren Jackson Jr. on the floor at the same time at one point, because that flexibility on offense, and at the same time defense too, because you're sliding Lauri Markkanen back to the position where we known him to be when he first entered the league, and then when he got to Cleveland he switched the position to small forward, because obviously playing with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. So what you would want to see out of Utah and what you would want to see out of Ace Bailey's development is his off-ball game getting even better, because it didn't seem like Ace Bailey does know how to move without the ball in his hands, which some people thought would be a concern for some reason. But Ace Bailey is a great cutter. He's a great at reading the defense when it's time, and obviously I already talked about his defense, so there's no need for me to say any more. But I do think sometimes Ace Bailey is overlooked in that 2025 NBA draft class, and I'm going to be the one to point out that Ace Bailey didn't have a disappointing rookie season. Yes, it wasn't to the standards of Con Knipple, fucking Cooper Flagg, even Dylan Harper, because his team made the finals. Like, it wasn't to that pace, but Ace Bailey still does have a promising career, and I do expect big things from him coming out of Utah. But y'all let me know, how do y'all feel about Ace Bailey down below? Do y'all see him being a future All-Star? Do y'all see him coming off the bench this whole entire season? Or do y'all see him taking Lauri or somebody's spot in that starting lineup? Y'all let me know down below. Subscribe. What's good, y'all? If y'all made it to the end of this video, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And my last video is on your screen, and the channel icon's on your screen too, so click one of them if you want to continue watching my videos. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like. It helps the algorithm push me out. And I appreciate y'all for watching this video nonetheless.